In the spring of 1973, two children had a run-in with an inexplicable clown-like entity that eerily beckoned to them from beneath a bridge and managed to lead them into what some have speculated was an alternate dimension. In southeast region of England, located in the English Channel, about 2 miles off the coast of Hampshire, is the Isle of Wight. This tourist destination is renowned for its temperate climate, natural beauty, and one very bizarre encounter with an intelligent and apparently non-human entity. On the east coast of the isle is the coastal resort town of Sandown. Wedged between that seaside paradise and the nearby town of Shanklin is the aptly named Shanklin and Sandown Golf Club. It would be sometime in May of 1973 on these impeccably manicured fairways that this truly curious case would begin. At about 4 p.m. on that day in question, a 7-year-old girl named Faye was wandering around the golf course with an unnamed male friend who was approximately the same age. The duo were exploring the nooks and hills of this great expanse when they were both startled by a sound that they compared to the wail of an ambulance siren in the distance. The young children, filled with both natural curiosity and a sense of invulnerability that comes before a dawning awareness of their own mortality, swiftly set out to locate and identify the source of the hauntingly repetitive monotone screech. These fledgling explorers pushed through the thick hedgerow and made their way to a swampy pasture which was adjacent to the often abandoned Sandown Airport. The moment Faye and her companion came into the clear, the intermittent shrieking ceased. Not content to forego this mystery without at least a cursory search of the area, the two intrepid investigators pressed forward, looking for any sign of the thing that had made such a startling noise. As the pair crossed over a wooden footbridge that traversed a narrow creek, they experienced the shock of their young lives. Without warning, a large, 3-fingered hand clad in what appeared to be a blue glove emerged from beneath the bridge and urged the youngsters to come forward. The kids, seemingly more curious than they were concerned, didn't run away, but they stared in astonishment as an utterly unbelievable humanoid figure arose from beneath the bridge. The first publicized description of this unique entity was circulated in the British UFO Research Association Journal, Volume 6, Number 5, January-February of 1978, in an article by Norman Oliver titled Report Extra Ghost or Spaceman 73. In it, Oliver reported what the children had claimed to have seen emerging from under the old wooden bridge. He was nearly 7 feet tall and had no neck, for his head appeared to be wedged straight onto his shoulders. He wore a yellow pointed hat which interlocked with the red collar of a tattered green tunic. A round black knob was affixed to the top of his hat, and wooden antennae were attached either side. Oliver went on to explicitly describe the odd entity's stoic facial features. The face had triangular markings for eyes and a brown square of a nose and motionless yellow lips. Other brown markings were on his paper white cheeks, and a fringe of red hair fell onto his forehead. Wooden slats protruded from his sleeves and from below his white trousers. The children also noticed that the entity had only 3 white toes on its apparently bare feet. At this moment of what may have well been first contact between the human race and a being of unknown origin, the creature did something uncannily clownish. He began fumbling a book that he had been holding and dropping it into the water below. Faye and her cohort watched as this erratic clown-like being, as it almost comically splashed around in the creek in an attempt to retrieve the book. After he salvaged his tome, the entity leaped out of the water and moved away from the children, employing a high-speed hopping gait, not unlike that of an astronaut moving out on the lunar surface. Within moments, the being disappeared inside what looked to the schoolchildren to be a small, windowless metallic hut, comparable to those used in construction sites. The perplexed kids simply stared at the structure for a bit, then they decided it was time to leave. When they were about 150 feet away from the structure, the entity re-emerged, this time holding a device which resembled a black knobbed microphone with a white flex attached to a small box that apparently served as an amplifier. According to Oliver, the wailing noise immediately returned, this time being so loud that the boy was scared and began to run away. Faye turned and was about to follow her friend when the screeching sound faded. The mechanized clown began to speak into the microphone. The pair would later claim that they heard his voice with perfect clarity as it asked them a seemingly obvious question. "Are you still here?" The boy stopped running, and he and Faye came to the conclusion that this clown-like creature's voice had a friendly, non-threatening tone. Once again, the kids' curiosity usurped their better judgment, and proving that they would have been prime candidates for stranger danger training, they started back toward the eccentric entity. At this point, the clown-like being raised his presumably still moist book and opened it, and in a large, childish scrawl, wrote a message. The boy was wary, but Faye cautiously approached the clown creature and inspected the writing. As the chaotic sequence of words was in no conventional order, Faye read each one as the thing pointed to it. The message read, "Hello, and I am all colors Sam." Seeing as Faye had not been harmed by the unusual visitor, the boy gained the pluck to join her next to the looming figure. The children then learned that the creature named Sam was able to talk without the aid of a microphone. The kids were fascinated by the being's ability to talk without even moving its lips. Faye would state that even though the thing was able to speak perfect English, the sounds that it made were distorted, rather like an individual who was incapable of opening their mouth properly, or perhaps like a creep hiding behind a wooden mask. The children began to feel comfortable enough to start asking questions. Caught on appearances as kids often are, the duo asked the being why its clothes were all torn. Sam replied that those were the only clothes that he had available. Faye, fixated on the humanoid's strangely immobile features and paper white skin, mustered up the courage to ask Sam if he was human. His reply was simply no. Anxious about his status as a paranormal entity, they then asked Sam if he was a ghost. The strange being replied, "Well, not really, but I am in an odd sort of way." Quick on their feet, the kids retorted, "What are you then?" Sam vaguely replied, "You know," adding no further explanation. The creature then went on to explain that although he had indicated that his moniker was Sam in the book, he had no real name. He also claimed that there were others like him on Earth and further confessed that he was frightened of people and scared they might hurt him, stating that if he were attacked, he wouldn't fight back. In what is perhaps his most disconcerting move, the being then invited the children to enter into his metal-sided, eerily windowless hut through a small flap-like opening in the side. The kids crawled through, followed by the creature. The hut was divided into 2 levels. The lower level had blue-green wallpaper and covered with a pattern of dials. Also, it had an electric heater and some basic wooden furniture. The upper level was not as expansive, but had a metal floor. Sam told them that he managed to survive feeding on berries that he collected in the late afternoon, and that he got his water from the nearby river, but cleaned it before he consumed it. His purification process wasn't described. Sam also confided in the children the existence of a secret camp that he maintained, which was located somewhere in mainland England. Once inside the hut, Sam removed his hat to reveal a pair of rounded white ears and a sparse patch of brownish hair. Next, the creature did something truly outlandish. The children testified that the creature placed a berry in his ear, then lunged his head forward, causing the berry to disappear and reappear in one of his triangular eye sockets. After repeating the head movement, the berry reached its mouth. Oliver speculated that this unusual trick might have been a process used by a biological robot to verify the quality and potential toxicity of the berry before he consumed it. Of course, it might have also been a supernatural entity attempting to entertain a pair of children, or a weird man in a wooden clown mask performing a magic trick. There's simply just no way to know for sure. The children remained inside the creature's hut-like home for the better part of half an hour, asking Sam questions and receiving ambiguous answers. After a while, they said goodbye, and despite Sam's only nebulous admittance to such, hurried out across the golf links to tell the first person that they ran into that they had not only seen, but talked to a genuine ghost. The first individual that they ran into was likely a groundskeeper who simply laughed at their outlandish tale, assuming it was nothing more than a flight of fancy or a childish prank. This greatly upset Faye and her compatriot. Disturbed by this initial reaction, it took Faye a few weeks to tell her father, oddly designated in Oliver's article as Mr. Y, about her experience. At first he did not pay too much attention, but started to be convinced due to the extraordinary level of detail of the account. Her friend also supported Faye's description of the weird incident. Soon after, Faye's father explored the area where his daughter claimed to have the encounter. There was no trace of the metal hut, nor any trace evidence of it having even been there, which Mr. Y considered to be odd considering the weight of a metal hut and the softness of the soil on which it allegedly rested. Mr. Y also spoke to 2 workmen who had been repairing a post in the area when the event allegedly transpired. Neither man claimed to have heard or seen anything unusual that day. So the question that we are left with is this: what exactly was No Name Sam? Was he an alien, a ghost, or an interdimensional being? Maybe a biological robot, or a supernatural entity, or maybe even an ultra-terrestrial? Or was it an independently wealthy practical joker, or a case of a 2-person mass hysteria? Or the product of fertile young imaginations, or a terrifying all-too-human predator, or maybe something utterly inexplicable? Unfortunately, with only 1 encounter in the books and no sign of Sam or his other clownish brethren populating the mainland, It seems as if this intriguing enigma will likely remain unsolved. What do you guys think? Leave a comment, guys. Leave a comment of what you think. And thank you guys for watching another episode of Tales Told in the Dark.